So, you need to implement EDI, electronic data interchange. Maybe you're facing a tight deadline from a major partner, or maybe you're just sick of struggling with a system that's barely holding on. Whatever the reason, you're in the right place. This is the practical, step-by-step guide you've been looking for.
You know, we hear this kind of thing all the time. A huge partner, a retailer, a healthcare network, you name it, basically lays down the law. And just like that, EDI goes from being some future tech project to a massive, business-critical emergency. Or, hey, maybe that's not your story. Maybe you already have an EDI system. But let's be honest, it's a total mess, right? It's just a patchwork of manual fixes and errors that bleed time and money week after week. So, whether it's an urgent problem or a fix that's long overdue, you know something has to change.
Well, think of this as your map. We are going to walk through a proven 9-step roadmap that's designed to take you from that exact point of pressure and pain all the way to a smooth, fully operational, and even optimized EDI environment.
And let's be really clear about something right up front. If you do this right, this is so much more than just a tech project. This is a business transformation project. It can literally change the way you do business for the better. Okay, let's get into it.
Before we dive into the actual steps of the roadmap, we gotta lay a quick foundation. Let's make sure we're all on the same page about what EDI actually is, and why it's become the absolute backbone of how businesses talk to each other today.
In the simplest terms, EDI is like a universal translator for business computers. It lets different companies' systems speak directly to each other. It gets rid of all the manual stuff, the emails, the PDFs, the faxes, for things like purchase orders and invoices, and replaces it with a standardized, automated electronic conversation. The whole point is to cut out the manual work and, more importantly, the human error that comes with it.
And you see its impact everywhere. Take retail, for example. There is just no way for major retailers to manage the sheer volume of orders, shipping notices, and invoices without EDI. It's what keeps the supply chain moving and the shelves stocked.
Now in healthcare, it's totally different ballgame. It's all about security and compliance. EDI is the engine that securely transmits incredibly sensitive patient data and billing info, which is absolutely critical for things like HIPAA regulations.
And of course, in manufacturing and logistics, EDI is the heart of the modern supply chain. It's what makes just-in-time manufacturing even possible, automating the whole conversation with suppliers so parts show up exactly when you need them. It's all about efficiency.
All right, let's get to our roadmap. We're starting with phase 1, planning and selection. And I gotta tell you, this is the most important phase. The choices you make right here, right now, will literally make or break the entire project. You get this part right, and everything that follows becomes so much easier.
This whole phase really comes down to 3 key steps. First, you assess your needs. Then you choose the right standard. And finally, you select the right provider to help you. We're going to start with that first one because, honestly, it's the step that most companies just blow right past.
Before you even think about talking to a vendor, you need to answer these 4 questions. 1. How many transactions are you dealing with? 2. Who are your partners? 3. What are your internal systems, like your ERP, that this thing needs to talk to? And 4. Be brutally honest. What are your team's real capabilities and what's your budget? This assessment becomes your non-negotiable requirements list. It's the filter for every single decision you make from here on out.
Next up, you have to know what language your partners are speaking. The 2 big ones are ANSI X12, which is the standard here in North America, and UN/EDIFACT, which is way more common in Europe and for global trade. And look, this isn't really a choice you get to make. It's dictated by your industry and, most importantly, by what your trading partners require.
Okay, so you've got a rock-solid plan. Now we move into phase 2, build and integrate. This is where all that planning, that technical blueprint, starts to become a real working system.
This phase really has 2 main jobs. First, setting up all the secure plumbing to make sure data can flow safely. And second, mapping your internal data so it can be perfectly translated and integrated with your partner's systems.
This is where the real nuts and bolts work happens. Your team and your EDI provider will work together to set up the secure networks, connect everything to your ERP system, and then, the most critical part, they'll do the data mapping. Just think of mapping as creating a perfect translation dictionary, one that turns your internal data into the exact format your partners need to see.
And that brings us to the final phase before you go live, test and launch. And let me be really clear about this. Rigorous testing is not optional. It's your insurance policy. It's what protects you from a disastrous launch day.
So the last few milestones on our map are these.
You're going to test and validate the system from end to end. You're going to train your people on how to actually use it. And then, and only then, do you execute a very carefully planned go live.
Your testing absolutely has to confirm these three things. Are the documents 100% accurate? Does the system catch and handle errors the right way? And this one is huge. Have you tested with your actual trading partners to make sure they can process what you're sending? You need a firm yes on all three of these before you even dream of flipping that switch.
And you're live. Awesome. But guess what? The job's not done. Step 9 is all about what comes next, because the best EDI setups are never set it and forget it. The real long-term value comes from continuous monitoring and optimization.
This is where you start living by your KPIs, your key performance indicators. You need to be watching your error rates like a hawk, pushing them as close to zero as possible. You want to see those transaction times get faster and faster. And of course, you need rock-solid system uptime. These numbers tell you the health of your system and point you to where you can make things even better.
And why does all that monitoring matter so much? Because that's how you get to the good stuff. That's how you realize the true power of EDI and see incredible results, like a massive drop in those costly, soul-crushing manual data entry errors that hold so many companies back.
And that, right there, brings us to the big payoff. When you follow a roadmap like this, the results are real and they are tangible. We're talking about serious cost savings, a huge boost in efficiency, way better data accuracy, stronger relationships with your key partners, and the peace of mind that comes from knowing you are always in compliance.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. When you look at your business operations today, is your supply chain just another line item on the expense report, a cost center? Or, with the right tools and the right process, could it become your single biggest competitive advantage? Something to think about.